Theater is more than just watching a show in a darkened auditorium. It could be as simple as watching dancers, a levitating Grim Reaper, or participating in a street magic act. The goal of all these is simple: to engage and entertain an audience. Connecting with the audience starts as soon as they walk into the venue. The architecture of the theater itself plays into the feel of the show. The set design literally and metaphorically sets the stage for what is about to come. The production plays off the venue, so if a play is not in the right venue, it causes a disconnect between the material and the viewer. We learned throughout our time in London that theater is a much more collaborative effort in order to engage the audience and connect them with the performance in a variety of ways. This concept of community flowed through the 4 theaters we visited during our time in London: the Globe Theatre, Barbican Centre, St. Martin's Theatre, and the Duchess Theatre.
The cultural significance and impact of theater in the City of London would not be nearly as profound without the historic establishment of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in the year 1596 and its subsequent reconstruction by Sam Wanamaker in 1993. Positioned in the center of a marketplace on the southern banks of the River Thames, the Globe Theatre not only provided the introduction of theatrical performance to the region, it also established the critical qualities and elements of a performance space. From the stage to the galleries and the roof to the yard, it is clear to see the design of Shakespeare's famous theater was well thought out with a clear priority of the audience's experience and engagement in mind. The 2 faux marble pillars on the untreated wooden stage were set with the intention of mimicking the culture and artistry of ancient Roman and Greek performance spaces, and the gallery was designed to amplify and clarify sound. Historically, seating in the amphitheater was organized on the basis of class. Individuals of high esteem and power would be seated in the gallery towards the side of the stage, while those of lower classes would sit directly in front of the stage or watch the show from the pit standing. It is, however, important to note that theater truly was a form of entertainment designed for everyone regardless of social status. An additional unique attribute to the Globe Theatre is the open-air design, extending the stage to the heavens and offering a stunning view of St. Paul's Cathedral across the river. All things considered, the design of Shakespeare's theater provided a substantial contribution to its success as a performing space and significant influence on the structure and establishment of more modern theaters, including the 3 at which we attended shows. I found the design of the Globe Theatre to be incredibly unique, and it was inspiring to experience a reconstruction, not replica, of the place that had such a large impact on British entertainment. Not being theatrically inclined, the concept of a 4th wall had never occurred to me until our tour guide explained that the intimate nature of the space provided an environment in which the audience truly engaged with the performance on stage, and the actors and actresses would do the same in return. I'm certain the goal of all theaters today is to attempt to mimic this famous effect of Shakespeare's Globe. The absence of such a divide between the audience and performance in the Globe reminded me of the power of tea to connect and bring individuals together as a result of its role as a civilizing force. Virtually every culture that has been in contact with tea has described it as an agent of civilization and temperate pleasure. A quote from A Thirst for an Empire. This excerpt could have very easily been used to describe the socializing power behind theatrical performance and spaces and the pleasure they offer as a source of entertainment and community. Moreover, it provides a nice corollary to the intimate connection between the audience and performance at the Globe. While the space is physically much smaller than the other 3 theaters we visited, the impact it had could not have been more profound. The Globe set the stage for the civilizing force of theater and performance, and its impact is still being experienced by millions of individuals each and every day in countless theaters and performing spaces around the globe. No pun intended.
Walking across Millennium Bridge to St. Paul's puts one in close proximity to the Barbican Centre. The Barbican shows a clear and central importance to the City of London, having its own tube stop on the Circle, Metropolitan, and Hammersmith and City lines. The Barbican Centre is a massive entity with 2 theaters, 3 movie theaters, a concert hall, a small library, an art gallery, and an indoor tropical conservatory. Accordingly, the Barbican is much more extravagant than that of the Globe Theatre. The Contemporary Theater was designed in the aftermath of World War II with the intent to rebuild an area destroyed in the bombings. Construction of the Barbican began in 1963 and continued for 12 years. The functional reinforced concrete and steel and utilitarian feel of the exterior makes the Barbican Theatre one of London's greatest examples of brutalist architecture. Once inside the theatre, you can see its resemblance to Art Deco design, especially when the safety curtain with reflective paneling came down at intermission. When one peers to the stage, they see a large round space with walkways leading off stage right and stage left. The balcony rows are staggered and rounded around the stage. I thought the space, exterior and interior, had a modern contemporary feeling to it. A typical venue I would associate with Shakespeare productions would not be designed in the brutalist style or have such a modern feel to it, but it is these components that make their productions work in the Barbican and not the Globe. The production of Romeo and Juliet we saw during our London adventure was a much more modern take on the story. The cast was in modern dress, all black, all white, or a combination of the two colors. Only a few characters donned colorful wardrobe pieces. I personally think the modern music choices, including techno pieces, a live rock piece, and a string piece whenever characters visited Friar Lawrence, helped young adults connect to the show more. The incorporation of music that millennials are familiar with and characters dressed like them helped them understand the material in a way reading it in English class did not. The newfound understanding helps them connect to the show in a way they have not in the past and provide a further understanding of theater as a space of community in addition to entertainment. I was excited to see a more modern take on the play, and I was not disappointed. In fact, I understood the play better after seeing this show. Building off of the style of the Barbican, I think the modern dress, music, and set design would have felt out of place at the Globe Theatre. The sheer size of the set pieces would not have worked with the performing space either. I think the box set piece the company used would have taken up the majority of the available stage space at the Globe, thus restricting the actors' movements. For example, when Mercutio gives the speech about Queen Mab in Act 1, she essentially acts out the entire thing on stage. When she says the line, "Sometimes she gallops over a courtier's nose," she gallops all over the stage. I do not think she would have been able to run around like this in the Globe with the amount of space their main set piece takes up. I think this production of Romeo and Juliet would feel cramped in a different performing space, such as St. Martin's Theatre or the Globe. After seeing this production of Romeo and Juliet, it became clear that the Globe does not fit the needs of all performances, and the design and structure of a performance space is directly related to the engagement of the audience.
Moving across the city from the Globe and the Barbican, St. Martin's Theatre is located in the West End, which is a district located in the center of London. This district is filled with many different types of pubs, tourist attractions, and performing spaces. St. Martin's Theatre was designed by W.G.R. Sprague. St. Martin's is one of a pair of theatres designed by Sprague. The Ambassadors Theatre, which is located in the West End as well, was the first of the two theatres to be built. Originally, they were both supposed to be constructed and open at the same time. However, due to the outbreak of World War I, the construction of St. Martin's Theatre was delayed. The theatre officially opened for business in 1916. In 1974, the theatre was given a Grade II rating by the English Heritage Foundation, thus giving the building culturally historic significance to the city and as a performing space. This rating states that the theatre cannot be changed, altered, or demolished without special permission from the British government. The most successful show to run within the theatre was Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap. It currently holds the record with having run over 26,000 times. The Mousetrap is a work of detective fiction similar to the style of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Red-Headed League. I know, my dear Watson, that you share my love of all that is bizarre and outside the conventions and humdrum routine of everyday life. Doyle places a large importance in the unknown, similar to the plot of The Mousetrap. Both involve mysteries that the viewers struggle to solve, but audiences around the world have bought into both stories because of their suspenseful and almost magical nature. Seeing The Mousetrap perform live really gave me a more concrete understanding as to why the play has continued to be so successful. We heard so many glowing reviews about this play prior to viewing that I was pleasantly surprised when the performance lived up to my expectations. Having the play set in St. Martin's Theatre allowed for the story to form and take place in a rather intimate way. The theater is relatively small, similar to the Globe, with seating only allowing for 550 people per show. However, the size of the theater makes the play feel more personal. It was like we were all a part of the mystery, trying our best to solve the case before the murderer struck again. For example, at intermission, it was interesting to watch the audience all turn to one another to discuss their potential theories for who the murderer actually was. It created a unique sense of community, one that can only be replicated within the theater. Having no prior knowledge of what the play was about, aside from it being detective fiction, really allowed us to enjoy the play that much more. Unlike other plays, for example, Romeo and Juliet, where we read it prior to seeing it being performed. Nothing was a secret in that play. However, in The Mousetrap, there was a larger push to keep the plot a secret. When we finally found out who the killer was, the gasp from the audience was quite loud. The audible reaction just goes to show how invested the entire theater was with this performance. In the end, I think the element of surprise was more beneficial in understanding the world of theater than it would have been to have actually read The Mousetrap prior to seeing it performed.
Our experience at St. Martin's Theatre with The Mousetrap could not have been better contrasted than by The Play That Goes Wrong at the Duchess Theatre. The Duchess Theatre, also located in London's West End, was originally opened in 1929. A redesign of the interior of the theatre was completed in 1934. 494 seats lie within the theatre, with the stalls sitting below street level. This theatre is considered one of the most intimate theatres in London, even holding the title as the smallest proscenium-based theatre in the West End. The building is a Grade II listed building, meaning the city takes special interest in its preservation as a historical site. The theater is known for having hosted the shortest run in the West End. The Intimate Revue closed without completing its first performance in 1930. Other notable performances include Noel Coward's Birth Spirit, which completed a record run of 1,997 performances in 1942. Tom Ian's The Dirtiest Show in Town ran for just under 800 performances in the 1970s, and the current show, The Play That Goes Wrong, written by the Mischief Theatre Company, composed of Henry Lewis, Jonathan Thayer, and Henry Shields. The Play That Goes Wrong received the Oliver Award for Best New Comedy in 2015 and has continued to run ever since. The Play That Goes Wrong functions as a comedic spoof to Agatha Christie-style mystery stories. With a highly rigged set and bits of audience participation, the show places a large twist on the typical murder mystery. Contrary to the plot of the show, the failures are intentional. The art of this performance can be explained perfectly by one Sherlock Holmes. No, Watson, this was not done by accident, but by design. This show was a mastery of accidents. If the antics were removed from the show and the subplot of the play within the performance was allowed to unfold uninterrupted, it would likely read similar to one of the Holmes detective fiction stories. This show completely eliminates the fourth wall, with actors continually reacting to the audience, and even a monologue being directed at an audience member. I was lucky enough to be considered for the role of the dog in the second act. I was thrilled to give my best bark, but sadly, an imaginary pup took my place. The space of the theater itself helps to break the fourth wall as well. The small setting places the audience close to the actors and even requires Trevor, one of the tech characters, to use the same exit as the audience. I would consider the set the true star of this show. The set has enough movement and action to almost be considered its own character. I sat in anticipation for the next major set failure or catastrophe. Understanding the performance, I knew that each and every so-called accident was well rehearsed, but still, every time I was caught off guard by the latest mistake. This is a rarity in many stage shows. Perhaps that is why the show has been able to find such great success in the West End. This stage performance brought back imagery of street and stage magicians, with a focus on timing, misdirection, and action happening outside of the viewer's eyes. Both types of performances function on similar principles. In one scene, an actress seems to reappear in a clock that, last known to the audience, was empty, demonstrating the show's ability to complete its own magic trick of sorts. In Covent Garden, some of the group ran into a street magician and were able to witness firsthand the similarities in misdirection and rigged items. This show makes a great connection between street magic and stage performance, proving a show can occur anywhere someone can bring their set.
Performing spaces come in a wide variety of places. From the galleries of theaters to the busy streets of the city, the art of performance is displayed all across London. especially in the 4 theaters we visited during our time abroad. The theaters of London came in all different shapes and sizes. Some were rather small, while others were designed for larger audiences. Despite the differences in structure, each play's goal was to engage the audience and allow them to become a part of the show. These theaters bring literature to life while also enhancing a sense of community and connection to the performance. All things considered, without these performing spaces, London will lose a part of itself, and in turn, a part of its rich and historic culture.